Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let's begin by offering our respects to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Mataji, now?
Yes, finally, yes. So happy to hear.
Finally, thank you. Thank you.
So do we have any questions from the previous class? Any doubts, concerns, questions? Okay. So far we have seen 3 sections, and today we will see section number 4, 38. So we'll see how far we can go today. Today's section is subtitled as Buddhi Yoga. And in this section, Krishna defeats Arjuna's sin argument. One of Arjuna's argument not to fight was that he will incur sins. So this argument of Arjuna is defeated by Krishna in today's section. So far, Krishna has defeated how many of Arjuna's arguments?
3.
Today is the 3rd. Prior to this, he defeated 2 of his arguments. Which 2 arguments of Arjuna has Krishna defeated?
The compassion.
Compassion.
And that he will not be able to enjoy his whatever he gains, like, with a war.
Yes. So compassion and enjoyment has been defeated by Krishna, and today we will see him defeating the sin argument. Okay, so let's go to 38. Any volunteers to read today? But then we have to correct.
You can read.
Fine.
Read the whatever translation.
Okay. Translations, and for the other text?
I can do the other text.
Okay, thank you. Please repeat Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Can we read this?
Section 4, 2.38, 2.53, Buddhi Yogi, fight, second application of Atma Jnana. Fight, but without any reaction. One works karma with knowledge, jnana, thus detached from the fruit of his work.
Okay.
Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayo tato yudhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapyate.
Translation. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin.
So let's try to understand this. From 11 to 30, we saw how Krishna spoke Jnana Yoga, where he gave the knowledge of how one is not the body, one is spirit soul. Then 31 to 37, we saw what is called as the Karma Kanda or ritualistic activities. Here is what Krishna spoke that, okay, even if you die, you will attain heaven, and in heaven you can enjoy. And if you win the war, then you enjoy the kingdom. So if, here, when one's goal is to enjoy the senses, one's goal is not to please the Lord at all. Even, there is no percentage of bringing in the Lord here. Only 100%, the only goal is to enjoy the senses. But of course, under the shelter of Shastra, then it is called as Karma Kanda. But now Krishna goes one step higher and he brings in this new concept where he's telling him that you fight for the sake of fighting, but do not consider happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat. So the one thing that Krishna has now deleted in verse 38 is what? The fruitive concept. What do we mean by fruitive concept? Fruit. We normally say, no, I like to enjoy the fruits of my labor, or this is the fruit of my labor. Fruit. So it's something that we get in return for our efforts or our hard work. So fruitive concept means the fact that we are getting something because of the work we have done. So Krishna is telling Arjuna here is, you do not worry about the fruits of your fighting. Do not consider happiness, distress, loss, gain, victory, or defeat. So work without attachment to the results. This is called as Nishkama Karma Yoga. Kama means sense gratification. Nishkama, without any desire for yourself. Karma Yoga, do your work. So this is what Krishna is bringing in here. So he says Sukha, Dukha, happiness, distress, Labha, Alabha, loss or gain, Jaya, Ajaya, victory or defeat. Do not consider any of this. You just fight. Then Krishna says you will not incur any sin. So here, as we discussed previously, Krishna is countering Arjuna's sin argument. So if he's telling you, if you fight without being attached to the results, then there is no sinful reaction attached to it. So we have, we'll see some more sections of the yoga ladder. We see at the rock bottom is sinful life, sense complete 100% sense gratification and without even the shelter of Shastra. Above that, Karma Kanda, again, goal is only sense gratification, but the difference is we do it under the umbrella of the Shastras. Above that is Sakama Karma Yoga, when we do our duties, but still we are attached to the fruits of our work. And above that is Nishkama Karma Yoga. In Nishkama Karma Yoga, one is detached from the fruits of the work, but we are attached to work itself. We want to serve the Lord. I'm not serving the Lord because I want something in return from the Lord. I serve the Lord without any expectation of the results, but I am attached to the work itself. I want to serve the Lord in a particular way. For example, I may think that when there is a Janmashtami feast, I want to do the Pujari service, or I want to do the Abhishek, but I don't want to cut vegetables in the kitchen. So I want to serve the Lord, but I want to serve the Lord in a particular way. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga. We will see more aspects of the yoga ladder as we proceed. Let's do 2.39.
Yecha te bhita sankhe buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyati.
Translation. Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Partha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works.
Okay, so what Krishna is saying here, he's saying, so far I have explained this knowledge to you through analytical study. Analytical study is Sankhya Yoga. So what is a Sankhya Yoga? Sankhya Yoga is analyzing what is matter and what is spirit, what is body and what is soul. So we have seen how Krishna has gone into great detail in explaining to Arjuna previously the difference between the body and the soul, right? So he's saying that now so far I've explained to you Sankhya Yoga, knowledge through analytical study, the difference between body and soul. Now what I'm going to speak to you is Buddhi Yoga. What is Buddhi Yoga? The word Buddhi means intelligence. Now, after having got the knowledge that I am not this body, I am spirit soul, then automatically one who's intelligent, he is going to engage in devotional service. He is not going to polish the cage anymore. He is going to concentrate more on feeding the bird in the cage. So the word Buddhi means intelligence, and it's only um, what do you call it? To be able to see things in the right perspective, right? And that is nothing but Krishna consciousness. So he says here, now I have explained to you I have explained Sankhya Yoga. Now I'm going to explain to you Buddhi Yoga. And what he says that by doing this, you can free yourself from the bondage of your works. So again, sinful reaction. Sinful reaction means what? When we take the sin, then we are in the cycle of karma. And he's saying that by engaging in this Buddhi Yoga, then you will free yourself from that karmic reaction, from the bondage of works. Let's read this.
Buddhi Yoga is the intelligent use of mind by keeping it engaged in devotional activities. It is the same as Bhakti Yoga or devotional service to Krishna. Buddhi means intelligence. One who is very intelligent can take to Krishna consciousness.
Yes, even Prabhupada said many times that it is only the intelligent people who take to Krishna consciousness. So Buddhi Yoga automatically follows Sankhya. It's only natural that after we get the knowledge, then one wants to take to Buddhi Yoga, or one wants to take to Krishna consciousness. 2.40.
नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयान्.
Translation. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and at a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
So here Krishna is talking about the characteristics of Buddhi Yoga. Okay. And characteristics. So when he's explaining the characteristics, he's explaining the glory of Buddhi Yoga, or the glory of Krishna consciousness. What is the glory? There is no loss or diminution. There is nothing that we can lose even by doing a little bit of devotional service. So what is the spiritual calculation? If I start off my spiritual life, but I do not perfect it for whatever reason in this lifetime, then in the next lifetime, I carry on from where I have left off in my previous lifetime. That's why there is nothing to lose. Even at death, we don't lose it. Material calculation is what? Unless we don't achieve something 100%, then whatever we have done in the past, even that is lost. For example, if somebody is trying to construct a building, now that building is 80% complete. Can he sell those apartments and people can go and live in that apartment? No, because whoever is buying the apartment wants that the apartment is fully complete. Or somebody is going to school or college and he attends 11 months, but he doesn't give his final exam. He doesn't attend the last month of his studies. He is not going to get his degree, isn't it? So material calculation is what? Unless we don't finish it 100%, then whatever, even if we have done 99%, it is lost. But spiritual calculation is not like that. Even if we do 1%, then we can carry that 1% to the next life and continue with 2% onward. So that is a spiritual calculation. So he says that there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So this we saw in the case of Ajamila, how the little, whatever little devotional life that he did before he saw that prostitute, that came into effect for him when he was in his 80s, no, 84 years old he was, and how that helped him at the time of death. So this material
What is
world
the
is
fear?
compared, sorry?
Sorry, what is the fear being referred to here? Is it the fear of death that is getting referred to here?
Yeah, I'll explain that here. Okay. So this material world is compared to a prison house. And we are trapped in this prison house. And we should desire to come out of this jail and come out of this material realm and go to the spiritual realm. Now, if these prisoners in the jail are given the key to come out of the jail and say, okay, you store the key for your freedom. Now, these prisoners would want to not, their greatest fear would be what? To lose the key. Because if they lose the key, then how are they going to come out of the jail? In the same way, our key to come out of this prison of material entanglement is the human body. So our greatest fear should be what? To lose this human body. If we lose the human body, then we don't have a chance for coming out of this jail of this material entanglement. So this human body is the key to come out, and our greatest fear is to lose this human body. If we start our devotional, Prabhupada explains in the purport that if we start our devotional service, then at least we will be guaranteed a human birth in the next lifetime. Does that answer your question?
But Arjuna was not afraid of death, from what I can.
No, Arjuna
understand.
was not afraid. No, Arjuna was not afraid of death. Here, Krishna is explaining the glories of Buddhi Yoga. He started telling him that Buddhi Yoga, you follow Buddhi Yoga because you will not take the sinful reaction. But now he's talking, because he's talking about Buddhi Yoga, he's talking about the glories of Buddhi Yoga. Not specifically
Okay.
only for Arjuna, in
Okay.
general. You know, like I tell you, you do this, this is good, and then I glorify it even more, even though it may not be specifically for you, like that. Okay.
Okay.
Let's try to read this.
This material world is a prison house. To convert a prison into a kingdom is a fool's errand. Even if people succeed in living king size, they have to die rat size. What does Gita wisdom teach us? To get out of the jail of material consciousness. By practicing spirituality, we can raise our consciousness and thus attain Krishna's kingdom, where we can delight in a life of eternal love.
So sometimes people say, no, oh, I live life king size. So here we see how doesn't matter how a person lives, whether king size or no, but everybody has to die rat size. Once somebody was telling Prabhupada that, oh, in your country, the death rate is very high. In our country, the death rate is very low. So Prabhupada said the death rate is the same all over the world. It's 100%. Everybody has to die, right? So yes, one has to die rat size. So let's say somebody is packing his bags and he's going to for a vacation in a very, very hot country. It's 40 degrees there. And he's packing in his bag clothes that are worn in the winters. He's packing jackets and sweaters. Is it very intelligent thing to do? To pack some things for a destination which are not going to be used over there. In the same way, what we tend to do is we try to pack those things that we cannot carry to our next destination. Whether our destination is a spiritual realm or another body in the material realm, we are not going to use that which we are accumulating now in terms of wealth, beauty, power, knowledge, material knowledge. We are not going to be using all these things, but we spend our life in accumulating those things which we cannot carry with us to the next destination. So there is no point in packing a bag, taking winter clothes for a warm destination. There is no point in accumulating material stuff which we cannot carry to our next destination, irrespective of whether that is a material body or a spiritual body.
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिर् एकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्.
Translation. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched.
So here, Krishna is explaining the qualification that one needs. Previously, he spoke about the characteristics of Buddhi Yoga, and here he is talking about the qualification that one requires. What is he saying? What do we actually need to possess to do Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness? He's saying that we need to be focused. Krishna says, those on this path are resolute in purpose. So one has to be focused in our spiritual life. And how does that focus come? That focus comes with determination. One has to be determined to go ahead. As we said in our introductory class, this whole thing is going to be like swimming against the current. So it requires some determination. And then what does Krishna say? Oh, beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branch. So if we are not focused on our goal, then we are going to be distracted by so many other things. So let's say somebody is driving to the office and he has a very important meeting to attend. Now on the way, while he's driving, there are so many things that are happening on the road. Somebody is picking up a fight with somebody else. There is an accident that has taken place somewhere else. And if he's going to get distracted by these other things that are going around him and not focus on the goal, then he's going to miss his very important meeting, right? But if he doesn't get distracted by what is happening around him and he just focuses that, I have to reach my office on time, then only he can reach his destination. So if we are not focused on our goal, then we are going to get distracted by so many other things that come and go in our life. So if we focus on the divine, then at death, we can reach our destination. But if our focus is wealth, power, glamour, or any of these other materialistic goals, then at the time of death, we will not be able to reach our goal. Prabhupada explains this in the purport. Let's read.
You want to read the Sanskrit or just the translation?
Can you read the Sanskrit?
I'll try.
Okay.
Shraddha sabde viswasa kahe sudra nischaya Krishna bhakti kela sarva karma krita haya. Translation. By rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. This confident, firm faith favorable to the discharge of devotional service is called Shraddha.
So what is Shraddha? The faith that when we do devotional service, then everything else is considered to be done. We don't have to separately endeavor to do something else. There is no other austerity or no other religious, what do you call it? Activity to be performed other than Krishna consciousness. And there is also Shastric evidence. This is already one Shastric evidence, but there is one more from the Bhagavatam which we will see. So faith means unflinching trust in something sublime, Prabhupada explains. And he gives this example: water on the root of the tree automatically goes to the leaves and the branches. So when we water the root, automatically the water is distributed to the other parts of the tree. We don't have to separately endeavor to water the branches and the leaves of the tree. So Krishna consciousness is like that. When we are doing service to Krishna, then automatically everything else is considered to be done. Let's read this from the Bhagavatam.
Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7 Devahuti to Kapila Muni. Oh, how glorious are those whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even if born in the families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your lordship, they must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required.
So just see, one who's chanting the holy name of Krishna is considered that he has already done all kinds of austerities. He has done all kinds of yagyas. He has already bathed in all the holy places of pilgrimage. He has already studied the Vedas and has fulfilled everything that is required. So there is this is another Shastric evidence that one who chants the holy name of Krishna has already done everything else is considered to be done. Let's read this.
Determination means to subordinate pleasure to purpose. Instead of believing that there is a lot of pleasure available in choosing the path of least resistance, we must muster the determination to choose purpose over pleasure.
So remember in the verse, Krishna spoke about being focused, right? We have to be resolute. So how does that focus come? We discussed that it comes with determination. So what's that determination? Always we have to choose purpose over pleasure. There are always going to be temptations, but we suppress those. We don't give in to those temptations, and we choose the higher reality, the purpose, why we want to do it. And how does this determination come? This determination comes with commitment. And that's the reason why it's important to commit to a spiritual master and promise to the spiritual master that, okay, now no more nonsense. Whatever we have done in the past is done. At the time of initiation, we promise the Guru. At least in ISKCON, there are what we promise to the spiritual master at the time of initiation is chant minimum of 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles of no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. So once we have promised this to the Guru, once we have made that commitment, then because of that commitment, the determination comes. As long as we don't commit, there is always going to be an excuse. Okay, I have not made any promise. I have not taken any vow. So it's okay. Once in a while, I can give in to temptations. You know, those games, the mind will always play with us. And that's the reason why it's important to accept a bona fide spiritual master. Even marriage. Many people don't want to get married because they don't want to commit. Once you're committed, once you've taken the marriage vows, now they know that you have to behave, right? And as long as one is not officially married, then there is always an excuse for that person to go the wrong path. In this regard, talking about determination, let us watch a video on Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur, he's the Nama Acharya. Acharya means one who teaches by example. And Nama Acharya, we learn from him how we should chant the holy name. Every day he used to chant 300,000 names of God. That is 192 rounds. Okay, every day he chanted 192 rounds. And there was this person called Ramachandra Khan, who was a zamindar, and he was envious of the fame of Haridas Thakur because Haridas Thakur was becoming very popular and many people had started to follow him because of his spiritual potency. And Ramachandra Khan wanted to defame him, and therefore he did something. Let us see the story in the video and we'll discuss later.
यही है वो हरिदास।
अच्छा जना, तो यही है वो महापुरुष। इसके लिए 3 ही दिन काफी है। ये जो आज हरि नाम ले रहा है, 3 दिन के बाद सिर्फ हीराबाई का नाम लेगा।
हीराबाई, अगर तुम यह चमत्कार दिखाने में कामयाब हुई, ये मेरी बहुत बड़ी कामयाबी होगी, जिससे मैं खुद सारे गांव वालों को लाकर दिखाना चाहता हूँ, ताकि उनकी नजरों में यह हरि भक्त हमेशा के लिए गिर जाए। अच्छा, तो मैं चलता हूँ, तुम अपने जादू के जौहर दिखाना शुरू करो।
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम।
अब देखना ये है कि मेरे घुंघरू थमते हैं या तुम्हारा हरि नाम।
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण
हरिदास।
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे राम राम
हरिदास, हरिदास,
हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण
तुम गूंगे हो, तुम बहरे हो। हरिदास, हरिदास, मैं कब से परेशान हूँ तुमसे बात करने के लिए।
राम 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 राम
तुम मेरी तरफ देखते क्यों नहीं?
हरे कृष्ण
हरिदास,
राम।
तुम बोलते क्यों नहीं? बोलो बोलो बोलो।
मैंने प्रतिदिन 3 लाख हरिनाम जप करने का व्रत लिया है। जब समाप्त होने के बाद मैं तुम्हारी हर इच्छा पूरी करने का वचन देता हूँ। बैठ जाओ। तुम हरिपूर्वक प्रतीक्षा करो, ठीक है? हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण
मैं कल आऊं।
कृष्ण हरे राम राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे कृष्ण हरे। हीरा, शिकार घायल हुआ?
4 दिन की जिंदगी में सिर्फ 3 ही दिन तो मांगी है मैंने आपसे, और फिर अभी तो 2 दिन बाकी है जनाब। हरिदास का कहना है कि जब तक उसका जब खत्म नहीं होता मैं उसका इंतजार करूं। मैं उसका इंतजार करूंगी और फिर
मैं भी यही चाहता हूँ।
ये तो
हरे राम कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम हरे राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे
कृष्ण कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
कृष्ण 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 क्या तेरी किस्मत
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण
क्या कृष्ण 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 कृष्ण
हरे राम
हुजूर 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 सारे गांव को और घर घर को बता दिया है कि वो हरिदास को देखने आ जाएं। कल लोग देखेंगे हुजूर कि वो कितना कमीना आदमी है।
शाबाश खान साहब शाबाश। आज के बाद उस कमीने का नाम हरिदास नहीं बल्कि हीरादास होगा। तुम सब घर घर जाकर मंडी मंडी जाकर सबको इत्तला दे दो कि हरिदास किस कद्र कमीनापन कर रहा है। कल सब लोग पिछली पहाड़ी पर हरिदास के दर्शन करने जाएं। अब जाओ तुम सब जाओ। मैं ये चाहता हूँ कि हरिदास अपने भक्तों में भी गिर जाए, इसलिए आप एक कमाल और कर दिखाएं। हरिदास के हर चाहने वाले को भी कल पिछली पहाड़ी पर बुला लीजिए ताकि ज्यादा से ज्यादा तादाद में लोग इकट्ठे हो सके। शाबाश मेरे शेरों शाबाश, तुमने कमाल किया। कल जब सब लोग हरिदास के दर्शन करने जाएं, मैं चाहता हूँ तुम अपने चंद आदमी भी उनमें छोड़ दो और जैसे वो हरिदास को हीराबाई के बाहों में पाएं फौरन पथराव शुरू कर दो और इस पथराव से हरिदास हमेशा हमेशा के लिए खत्म हो जाए। जाओ। अब देखता हूँ हरिदास को मेरे पंजे से कौन बचाता।
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे राम कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम
हरे राम
राम
हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण
हरे राम हरे राम राम
हरे
राम
हरे
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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण
मुझे क्षमा कर दीजिए, मुझे क्षमा कर दीजिए। मैं कितनी पापिन हूँ प्रभु, मैं कितनी पापिन हूँ। थोड़े से धन दौलत के लिए मैंने आपका पद भ्रष्ट करना चाहा। मेरा सारा जीवन ही पापों से परिपूर्ण है। आप मुझ पे कृपा कीजिए, मुझे इस बहुबंधन से मुक्त होने की राह दिखाइए प्रभु, राह दिखाइए।
हीरा, मुझे सब कुछ ज्ञात है। मैंने 3 दिन पूर्व ही इस स्थान का परित्याग करना चाहा था, किंतु तुम्हारे ही कारण मैं आज तक यही हूँ। धन दौलत से ज्ञान श्रेष्ठ है। करोड़ों ज्ञानियों से एक मुक्त जीव श्रेष्ठ है, और करोड़ों मुक्त जीवों से एक कृष्ण भक्त श्रेष्ठ है। इस भाव बंधन से मुक्त होने के लिए कृष्ण भक्ति ही एकमात्र सहज उपाय है। जाओ हीरा, तुम्हारे पास जो कुछ भी धन दौलत है वो सब ब्राह्मण और वैष्णव को दान देकर मेरे पास वापस आ जाओ। जाओ हीरा, जाओ।
Okay, we'll stop here. So we see here in the story how Haridas Thakur had taken a vow to chant 300,000 names of God every day. And because he had taken that vow, he was determined to finish his rounds. Yes. And that determination made him focus on his goal. The point that we are trying to make in this verse. Of course, there are many other lessons that we can draw from this story. What are the other lessons from the story of Haridas Thakur?
That you should like never be distracted from your like chanting devotional service.
You should never be, sorry?
You should never be distracted or like being like distracted from your devotional service or chanting.
Yes, exactly. We should not be distracted from our devotional service. Very nice, Varun. What else do we learn?
Focus and be the example rather than teach.
Focus and be because looking at Haridas Thakur, there were others also who were, so he set an example for the others as well. Okay, very
Yeah.
nice. What else?
Just by listening to the Harinam, that prostitute got converted and understood her words.
Exactly. Just by hearing the prostitute, she had a change of consciousness, her heart changed, just by listening to the Mahamantra. Yes, that's why a devotee chants loudly. So even if you're with a hardcore atheist, just by listening, he is getting the benefit. Okay, very nice. What else? What did Haridas Thakur tell the prostitute? He told her that actually I was about to leave this place 3 days before only. But when I realized that this plan is being cooked up, I stayed back only for you, for the sake of the prostitute benefiting from his association. Remember, he told her that in this video. So that is the mood of a Vaishnava. The mood of a Vaishnava is not that, okay, I do my sadhana bhakti and I go back to God. I'm not worried about anybody else. That's not how a Vaishnava thinks. A Vaishnava wants to go back to Godhead, but he wants to help as many people as he can also to go back to Godhead. That's the mood of a devotee, and that's what Haridas Thakur also said. Okay, any other lessons that we can draw from this? Just to complete the story, what happens after this is because Haridas Thakur instructed the prostitute to go and sell all her belongings. She does exactly that. She sells everything. Then she comes back to Haridas Thakur and then he instructs her to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And she also starts to chant 300,000 names of the Lord every day by the Tulsi plant. We saw the Tulsi plant also. And over a period of time, she became a very, very advanced devotee. And many stalwart Vaishnavas also would come to visit her. This is how the story ends. And then again, the same thing happens all over again, but this time it's not a prostitute, it is Maya Devi herself. Okay, imagine Maya Devi herself has come to test Haridas Thakur. And the same thing happens. He tells her, okay, I will fulfill your desire. You sit here for 3 days. And at the end of 3 days, Maya Devi tells her that, tells him that I am actually Maya Devi and I have come to test you. And then she tells Haridas Thakur that please give me this name of Krishna. I want to chant the name of Krishna and I also want to experience the ecstasy. And then Haridas Thakur gave her the name of Krishna and then she became his disciple. Okay, so this has happened twice with Haridas Thakur and both the times Haridas Thakur has not succumbed to the temptation because of his vow and his determination. So that is very important in our spiritual life. If you want to read the story, you can go to your Veda base, go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela, chapter number 3. In this chapter, both these instances are there. Let's read this.
Khanda khanda he deha yaha yaya yadi prana tabu ami padane na chadi hari nama. Even if you cut my body into pieces and I give up my life, I will never stop chanting Lord Hari's holy name. Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi 16.
So this is another incident from Haridas Thakur's life. There was a Muslim ruler and the Muslim ruler wanted Haridas Thakur to give up the chanting of the holy name. And he wanted him to say Islamic prayers because Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family. And that time the Muslim ruler told him that you will have to either give up your life or you give up the chanting of the name of Krishna. So at that time Haridas Thakur says that even if you cut my body into pieces and I have to die, even then I will not stop chanting the holy name of Lord Hari. So this is the kind of determination that Haridas Thakur had. And therefore, just to complete the story, the king then ordered that Haridas Thakur should be whipped in 22 marketplaces. And that's what the servants of the king did. They took him to different marketplaces and they whipped him, 22 marketplaces, and they whipped him. But Haridas Thakur did not feel any pain on his body because, of course, the devotee of the Lord is always protected by the Lord. He never felt any pain. Even after whipping him in 22 places, still he did not die. And eventually the servants, they started to cry. They said, we are whipping you, you are not dying. The king is going to kill us if you do not die. And then Haridas Thakur, out of compassion for those servants who were whipping him mercilessly, he said, okay, oh, if you have to face the wrath of the king, then I will fake my death. And he became, he went into Samadhi. Okay, so they thought that he has died and they throw him in the water. But then, of course, after some time, Haridas Thakur, he comes back to his consciousness and then he walks out of the water. So this is the kind of determination that Haridas Thakur had. And Prabhupada also said in a letter, he says, chant 16 rounds and no power in all the 3 worlds will make you fall down. Krishna will save you always. So our beads, our chanting is our greatest weapon against the war of Maya. As long as we are chanting, Maya cannot defeat us. But the moment we leave chanting, then she gets the better of us because we have laid down our weapons and we cannot fight anymore. Then she has got us thoroughly. Those who commit to nothing are distracted by everything. So if we don't commit to anything, then we are going to get there, then we are going to get distracted by so many other things that come and go in our life. So this is another representation of the same fact. See, in this verse, let's go back to the verse. See, the first word is what? Vyavasayatmika buddhir. Vyavasay. The word vyavasay in Hindi means what?
Business, basically.
Business, yes, business. So he's saying business like intelligence. Vyavasayatmika buddhir. So business like intelligence. So, you know, there may be some friends and they are great friends. They laugh and joke and everything. But if these friends have to finalize a business deal, now amongst those friends, there is going to be no laughing and joking anymore. Now they're going to seriously discuss, right? Because a businessman does not want any nonsense. Every businessman wants to make profit. So when business is discussed, then even if it's between the best of friends, there is no laughing and joking. Everything is seriously discussed and finalized. So that kind of seriousness is required. Actually, not that kind, even more greater seriousness than that is required in our spiritual life. We should not take spiritual life easily. So that's why Krishna is using here the word vyavasayatmika buddhi, a business that is more serious than business, our spiritual life. 42, 43.
यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं प्रवदन्त्यविपश्चितः वेदवादरताः पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः कामात्मानः स्वर्गपरा जन्मकर्मफलप्रदां क्रियाविशेषबहुलां भोगैश्वर्यगतिं प्रति.
Translation. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas. Such recommended various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this.
So now again, Krishna is talking about Karma Kanda. Previously, he spoke about Buddhi Yoga. Now here again, he's talking about Karma Kanda. And he's saying that men of small knowledge are attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets. So elevation to heavenly planets means, again, the person's thinking of sense gratification. So from that, we know that this is talking about Karma Kanda. Now, what do you mean by flowery words of the Vedas? Basically, the Vedas have 4 subject matters: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. These are the 4 subject matters of the Vedas. Dharma, Artha, and Kama have got to do with sense gratification. And Moksha is a spiritual goal, you can say. So the initial part of the Vedas is only dealing with sense gratification, how we can gratify our senses under the shelter of Shastra. So the initial part of the Vedas deal only with that, Dharma, Artha, Kama. So that Krishna is mentioning as flowery words of the Vedas, because flowery words means what? It is very attractive to hear. It's very tempting. But we should not get carried away by the flowery words. We should not get carried away by the sweetness. Sometimes we say, no, oh, somebody is very sweet to us, but we should not, fall in the trap of that sweetness. We should be able to see beyond that. So that section is Krishna is describing as the flowery words of the Vedas. So he's telling Arjuna that yes, although the Vedas talk about fruitive activities by which you can get elevation to heavenly planets, you can get a good birth, you can get power, etc. But Arjuna is beyond this. Arjuna should not get carried away by these flowery words, Krishna is saying. Okay. So this is a progression. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu explains in his Bhakti Shastri class that this is a progression in Vedic literature. We can see how the Vedas progress from Karma Kanda to Jnana Kanda to Bhakti Yoga. Karma Kanda is in the negative axis because it keeps us still only in the material realm. But then after that, it progresses to Jnana Kanda, that is considered to be at 0 axis, because that takes us to the spiritual realm, but it at best can take us to Brahman realization. But beyond that is Bhakti Yoga, where we can eternally enjoy with Krishna in Goloka or in Vaikuntha. So this is the progression in Vedic literature. Some flowers and fruits look very attractive and delicious, but many are poisonous and deadly. Hence, one needs to see not with the eyes, but with intelligence. So this is a flower that is very attractive to look at, but it is poisonous. Okay. So yes, there may be things that are very attractive and delicious to look at, but they are deadly. So we should not only see with the eyes, but we have to use our intelligence to see what is it that is really good for us and what is good to see and feel, but still it is poison for us. So this Karma Kanda section is compared to poison. It will only keep us in the material realm. Let's read this.
Bhagavad Gita 0.2.42 warns that those who mistake heaven to be life's ultimate destination cheat themselves of life's supreme satisfaction.
So let's not mistake heaven to be life's ultimate destination. Sometimes these terrorists are trained up. No, they train young boys and they say that, okay, you do this, you bomb this, and you become a suicide bomber, and then you can enjoy Jannat. That's what they are taught. You can enjoy Jannat. So they think that that's the maximum that they can get. Enjoy in the heavenly planet. They can enjoy in Jannat with 72 virgins is their philosophy. But we have to understand that there is a destination beyond heaven. We already saw this picture, and beyond Swarga Loka, there are other lokas, and all these lokas are still only in the material realm. They don't realize that there is a destination beyond that. The destination beyond that is to cross the 14 planetary systems, to go out of this material realm, cross the Brahma Jyoti, and enter Goloka or Vaikuntha. 44.
भोगैश्वर्य प्रसक्तानां तयापहृत चेतसां व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न विधीयते गुण्य विषय.
Oh, sorry.
Translation. In the minds of those who are too attached to the sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place.
So what is Krishna saying here? Those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, Bhoga and Aishwarya. See the first word, Bhoga and Aishwarya. If you are too attached to Bhoga and Aishwarya, to sense enjoyment and material pleasure, then what happens? There is Apaharta. What is the meaning of Apaharta? Apaharan in Hindi means?
Kidnapping.
Kidnapping. Yes, kidnapping. So what is kidnap? Chetasam. Our consciousness is abducted, right? Our consciousness is captured by ignorance, is covered by ignorance. Then what happens? Vyavasayatmika buddhi, that business-like intelligence, that one-point resolution, that intelligence is not possible, and therefore one cannot achieve the supreme destination. So we should not be overly attached to Bhoga and Aishwarya. Let's try to understand this with an example. Let's say a child is returning from school and is on the way to the house and is kidnapped. Now this person, this kidnapper, then tells the father that if you want me to release your child, then you pay this amount of money. Now the father gives the money and the girl comes back home. Now what is going to happen? The girl is coming, every day she is going to school and coming back. The kidnapper is going to think, oh, this was very easy, right? I made so much money by kidnapping the girl. Let me do it once more. So it will happen again, right? Now, if the father, instead of paying the ransom, he employs bodyguards to protect the girl, then there is a chance that the girl will not be kidnapped again. Okay. In this example, this child, this abducted child, is compared to the mind, and the kidnapper is lust and greed. And what is a ransom? Ransom is to indulge in the act. So what we are trying to say is, let's say somebody likes to gamble and has taken a vow not to gamble, not the spiritual master, but he has decided that he doesn't want to gamble anymore. But now what happens? Because of one's mentality, there is still the complete purification has not taken place, and the temptation is there in the mind that no, I want to gamble, I want to gamble, somebody has invited me, I want to go. So if we indulge in the act, if we tell the mind, okay, let me just go and gamble one more time, and then I will be fine, I will be at peace, I will not let me just go once and then I will be peace, then no more. So if we indulge in it and we do it again, then it's very much possible that the mind will, I would want to indulge in it again. So that abduction, that kidnapping will happen again and again. But if we employ bodyguards, in this case, the bodyguards is absorption in Krishna. If we absorb our minds in Krishna, then that kidnapping of the mind will not happen again. So we don't indulge in sense gratification. If we think that let me do it just this one time and then no more, that will not happen. If we do it more, if we indulge in it, then it is going to happen again. We are going to want to indulge in it second time, third time, fourth time, and so on and so forth. It's like adding fuel to the fire. The more we indulge in sense gratification, the more and more our mind is going to want to go for that sense gratification repeatedly. Materialism makes us spoiled children. So there are some children, they would tell the parents, buy this, buy that, I want this and I want that. So we call them spoiled children, right? Want too many demands, want too many things. And sometimes the child may go to another extent and say that, no, but if you don't give me this, if you don't buy for me that, then it means you do not love me. The child accuses the parents, oh, you don't love me, that's why you don't buy this for me. So we are like that, right? We demand, we go to the Lord and we pray for materialistic things. We say, okay, my Lord, please give me this. I want to crack the business deal. I want admission in this most prestigious institution. I want to become famous, things like that. So when we ask for these material things, and if the Lord doesn't give it to us, then we say, oh my God, the Lord does not exist. I lose my faith, right? This Lord, this Devata is not fulfilling my desire, so I will worship somebody else. I fasted every Monday, my desire was not fulfilled, so now I will fast every Friday, for example. Somebody may lose faith. So that faith in the Lord is changing according to whether our desires is being fulfilled or not. That's what materialism does to us. Then another explanation, don't hold on to the things that hold you back. Let's say somebody is bound by ropes. Now this person, if he's intelligent, he is going to try to untie himself and push the rope away from him, right? He doesn't want the rope on his body because that is what is tying him up. But what does, if that person continues to stick on to those ropes that are binding him, then we call that person foolish. So the mistake that we make is we are holding on to our material things, although we know that these material things are binding us in this material world. It is these material desires that keep us bound in this material realm. And although they are binding us here, we stick on, we hold on to those material possessions. So that is equal to a man who's bound by ropes, but he still continues to stick to those ropes. He wants to remain bound by those ropes. So that is not very intelligent. That is very, very foolish, in fact. So we should not hold on to things that are binding us. The mind on autopilot leads us to destruction, not destination. Now, we have these pilots, qualified pilots, who are driving this airplane. Now, the airplane is going smooth, right? Everything is fine. So the pilot puts the thing on autopilot. So the plane is now cruising on the autopilot mode. But as soon as there is some turbulence, there is some disturbance, something is not right, then the pilot should immediately turn off the autopilot and he should take charge himself, isn't it? If he continues to keep it on autopilot when there is turbulence, then there is every possibility that the plane is going to crash. So we may keep our mind on autopilot when everything is cruising. For example, we have our daily routine, right? Get up in the morning, brush our teeth, take bath, do our daily services, take care of our children or drop our children to school. So all our daily activities, for all these things, we can keep our mind on autopilot because this is something that we do every day. But the moment there is some turbulence, there is some temptation that is coming in our life, then we have to take charge of our mind, not let the mind do whatever it wants to do. Let the mind indulge in whatever it wants to do. Put it on autopilot. Let it go on its path. No, now we have to take charge and not allow the mind to indulge in whatever it has desired. So here are a few examples of how even other living entities are trapped because of their desire for sense gratification. Let's read this.
The poachers let loose a trained female elephant to lure and lead the male elephant into a ditch. The male elephant, being too attached to sense enjoyment, is then trapped.
Yeah, so this is how the poachers, they catch the elephants. They have trained the elephant, and then they train the female elephant that you take the male elephant towards this path, and that ditch is covered on top with grass and other things. So the male elephant walks on that ditch and he is trapped because of his desire to enjoy with the female elephant. Let's read this.
Moths get attached to the lights in the flames and burn themselves to death by flying into it themselves.
Yeah, so the moths also, they see something attractive. Here with sense, they're using their sense of sight. So they see this, they think it's very attractive, and they go there, but then they are burnt to death. The birds are also trapped. If they want to trap birds, they throw some grains, the birds come, and then the net is thrown. The rats also are trapped. The fishes also are trapped. And who can identify the characters on the screen now?
Is that Urvashi?
Vishwamitra.
Yes, yes, correct. Urvashi and Vishwamitra. So even Vishwamitra fell down because he got distracted by, what did he get distracted by?
By
Urvashi's dance.
Urvashi's
Dance.
dance, but his eyes were closed initially.
Sorry, I don't.
Anklets, yes. Just by the sound of her anklets, his meditation broke and he fell down. Just the sound of her anklets, that's all. So material attachments are both binding and blinding. Yes, material attachments bind us to the material world, but they also blind us. They cover our intelligence. We do not see what is actually Shreyas, what is good for us, right? So here the example we have is of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra was materially blind, but he was also spiritually blind. Now he had to lose a lot before he lost his blindness. What did he lose? He lost his kingdom, he lost his wealth, he lost all his sons. His sons perished in the war. And after that also, he continued to stay in the kingdom with Yudhishthira as the king. So he even lost his self-respect. Imagine he's living in the kingdom with Yudhishthira and the Pandavas, and they were the ones who killed his own sons. For a father to live in the house of the killer of your own children, is it possible? It's very hard to understand, isn't it? So he had even lost his self-respect. Even then, he continued to be spiritually blind. Even then, he would not understand what he should do. Eventually, of course, Vidura had a conversation with him. And then following Vidura's advice, he leaves the kingdom and he goes to the forest, and there he meditates and he perfected his life. But he was able to do that only after he lost much. He lost everything, and only then he was able to lose his spiritual blindness. So this is the question that we have to ask ourselves. How much are we going to lose before we lose our spiritual blindness? The sooner we realize, the better it is for us, because then we lose less. This is something that we have to contemplate upon.
Taya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nityasattvasto Niryogakshema Atmavan.
Translation. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self.
So Krishna here, he's saying that in the Vedas, mostly what is spoken of, the three modes of material nature. What are these three modes of material nature? We have the mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. Sattva guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. So the Vedas are mostly dealing with these three modes of material nature. But O Arjuna, you don't have to be within these three modes. You have to transcend these modes. You have to go beyond the three modes of material nature. So let us try to understand the three modes. Here are some characteristics of Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Let's read.
Sattva guna, mode of goodness, virtue. Should I read in this order, right? Or
No, we can
Yeah.
go horizontally.
horizontally? So, goodness, virtue, peace, serenity, and calm. One will aspire for and generally achieve long-term happiness even if one must accept temporary inconveniences. Lean towards healthy and nutritious food which increases strength and longevity. Rajoguna, mode of passion, energy, passion, turbulence, anger, overexcited, ob- obsessive, addictive, greedy, overactive. Satisfied by short term happiness and doesn't expect much more out of life. Likes overly spiced food with powerful flavors, temporarily enjoying tasty cuisine that brings on sickness and disease. Tamoguna, mode of ignorance, inertia, ignorance, sleep, laziness, dullness, depressed, repressed, neglectful, and underactive. Rarely achieves happiness at all, has little taste left, and tends to eat rotten food that quickly causes ill health, eats and sleeps more than required.
So these are the characteristics of these three gunas. But the point is we have to go beyond even the mode of goodness. If we are at the mode of goodness, we will still remain in the material realm. Let's try to understand this with an example. Let's say the goal is to travel to India. So if a person who is in the mode of goodness, what does he do? He is aware that I have to travel to India. He will buy his ticket, he will pack his bags, and he will reach the airport, he will cross the customs and security, and he is there at the boarding gate at the right time. That is mode of goodness. Okay. A person in the mode of passion, he is aware that the goal is to go to India, but he is so engrossed in enjoying life, right? That he is not doing what it requires for him to be at the right place at the right time at the airport. He doesn't do it because he's too busy with his passionate activities. And a person who's in the mode of ignorance, forget doing something, he's not even aware that my goal is to travel to India. So this is mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Now, which of these three categories is best placed to reach India? Mode of goodness. He is the best place to reach India because he's right there at the boarding gate. All he has to do is he has to board the airplane. Now, if he boards the airplane takes off under the guidance of a qualified pilot. Then he will reach his destination. Yes. But if he doesn't board the airplane for some reason, then is he any far away from the destination from the other three? No. No, because geographically, all of them are in the city, in the, let's say, Santiago to India. So although he's in the airport at the right time, if he doesn't board that airplane, then geographically he is as far away from India as the man in the mode of passion and the man in the mode of ignorance. Yes. So mode of goodness is like this board on which we are nicely placed to reach our destination. But if we don't take the plane of Krishna consciousness, then we cannot transcend and we cannot reach our destination. Now let's say he has boarded the plane, but that plane is not driven by a authorized pilot. This pilot has a fake license. Now what is going to happen? The license of the pilot is fake. Now what is going to happen? Every possibility, the plane is going to crash. So we have to make sure we board the plane that is going to be driven by an authorized, licensed pilot. This pilot, in our case, is our spiritual master. We have to be very careful that we board the plane of Krishna consciousness under the guidance of a bona fide, authorized spiritual master. Let's read this.
Song name Samsara Davanala Lidha Loka. Official name Sri Gurvastakam. Author Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura. The Sanskrit as well.
Yes, please.
Yasya prasadat bhagavata prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutupi dhyanan stuvam tasya yashitri samadhyam vande guruho Shri Charana Vindam. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benedictions of Krishna. Without the grace of spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, one should always remember and praise the spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master.
So the song name Samsara Dava Nalalida Loka, does it ring a bell in our minds?
Yeah, at the start we play this song to offer our prayers to Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, exactly. So that is the first paragraph of the song. And this is the last paragraph of the song. So this song was composed by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's an acharya in our disciplic succession. The song is called Guru Vashtakam. And in ISKCON, in every temple all over the world, the day begins by playing this song. The first thing Prabhupada has established in ISKCON, the first thing that we do is we glorify the spiritual master. The reason, even before we worship God, we are worshiping the spiritual master. The reason why, here, by the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. That's the reason why we begin our activities by glorifying the spiritual master. So that's how important it is to accept a bona fide, authorized spiritual master coming in a bona fide disciplic succession. We don't want to access spiritual masters like this. Although they are dressed in saffron robes, they may have some kind of tilak or markings on their bodies, but still they are fake. We don't want spiritual masters like this. They may be able to perform some magic tricks. They may have some yogic powers, but that doesn't make them a bona fide guru. And definitely we don't want spiritual masters like this. They may be externally doing some kind of devotional service in a religious organization, but still they have not controlled their senses. The mentality has not changed. This is called taking premature renunciation, taking renunciation even before we have we are mentally prepared for it. The mentality has not changed, only the external dress has changed. So such gurus, we do not want to accept. Forty-six.
यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः कर्मण्य.
Translation. All purposes served by small well can be at once be served by the great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them.
So here Krishna is again comparing Karma Kanda with Bhakti Yoga. What is he saying? All purposes served by a small well can be served by a great reservoir of water. So previously in the Vedic ages, they had different wells for different activities. So the water from one particular well would be used for washing clothes exclusively. For taking bath, they would use water from some other well. They would not use the same water for bathing and for washing clothes. So for different purposes, they would use the waters from different wells. But water from a river can be used for bathing, can be used for washing clothes, and can be used for other necessities. Yes. So whatever purpose is served by the wells is automatically served. All those purposes are served by one river. In the same way, all the purposes of the Vedas are served by a devotee who knows the purpose behind the Vedas. Now, in the Vedas, there are so many rituals that are given, and it is not possible for one to perform all those rituals, especially in Kali Yuga. It is an impossible task. Right now, even we don't have the 100% Vedas are not even available for us. It's beyond our access. We cannot even access it, right? So, but you can fulfill all those ceremonies by knowing the purpose behind the Vedas.
एवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Translation. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
So this is the most quoted verse, and one of the most quoted verses, and it was also very popular amongst the Indians, right? But this is also the most misunderstood verse by the Indians. Now let's see, this verse has four parts. The first line says, you have a right to perform your duty. You have a right to do your karma. Second, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. That's the part 2. Now part 3, do not consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities. So we are not the cause for whatever result we are getting. And number 4, don't be attached to not doing your duty. Now, after reading the first 2 lines, most Indians, they say, okay, I am not entitled to the fruits of action. Joe, whatever is in my destiny, that I will get, right? So I am not entitled to the fruits. Whatever is written in my destiny, that I will get. So that most Indians use as an excuse to not work hard. Correct. They don't want to work hard. They say, okay, I just sit back and relax. Anyway, whatever I'm destined to get, I will get. That's the mentality. But what Krishna is saying here, do not be attached to not doing your duty. Even though you will get what is in your destiny, still do not be attached to not doing. Still you have to do your work. Now, what is it supposed to mean? We have to understand that phala or the fruit depends on 3 factors. Karma plus daiva plus kala. Whatever fruit we get, the results of our work depends on 3 factors. One is the work we do. Secondly, it has to be sanctioned by God. And third is the time factor. We have to have all 3 factors. If I do the work and I have worked very hard for it, but it is not sanctioned by the Lord, I will not get it. At the same time, if I don't do my work only, how is the Lord going to give it to me if I have not worked for it? So I have to work for it. At the same time, it has to be sanctioned by the Lord. And also there is a time factor that comes into play. For example, if a farmer wants to have a produce at the end of the year and he wants to sell the produce and make money. Now, what is his work? He has to plow the field. He has to sow the seeds, right? Now he has done his work. What is the sanction by the Lord? It has to rain at the right time, in the right quantity. If there is no rain or there is excess rain, then the crops are going to be destroyed. So work has to be done, plus it has to be sanctioned. There is diver factor involved and a time factor. The crops are going to take some time to grow and to bear the fruit. Just because he has planted the seed and plowed the field and planted the seed and also is raining at the right time, that doesn't mean that the plant or the crops are going to be ready. The grains are going to be ready. No, the grains are going to take its time for it to grow. Another example, if a couple want to have a child, then what is the work? First of all, they have to unite. Secondly, that has to be sanctioned by the Lord. Just because a couple is uniting, that doesn't mean that the Lord is going to give you a child, right? There are many couples who are not able to conceive. Why? Because the diver factor there is missing. And of course, the time factor. Now they have united, the Lord has sanctioned it, but now there is a 9-month gestation period. The time has to pass. At the end of the 9-month gestation period only, the result, the child is realized in the arms of the parents. So phala is equal to karma plus daiva plus kala. We should not think that what is in my destiny only I will get, so that I use that as an excuse to not work. That should not be the attitude. Neither should this be the attitude that, okay, I have worked hard day and night, so I should get this result. No, we cannot put the Lord in an arithmetical equation saying that I did this, so I should get this. No, we have to depend upon the mercy of the Lord. And of course, third is kala, the time factor. So performance matters, but performance is not all that matters. We are the makers of our destiny, but we are not the masters of our destiny. We can make our destiny by doing our work, but we are not the masters of our destiny. This we have to remember. So one may ask the question, okay, Krishna says that we have to be detached from the results. So then what is going to motivate us to work? If we are not thinking about the results, then how are we going to get motivated? We may not find the impetus to do our work. So what is going to motivate us to work? Somebody may ask. So the answer is, we should not be attached to the results, but we can definitely set the goals. Goals we can set. So in the Mahabharata, there was this incident where I forgot his name. Was it Jayadratha who was killed by Arjuna when Krishna created an eclipse-like situation?
Yeah, it was Jayadratha.
Yes.
Jayadratha,
I have
yeah.
a question here.
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji,
Yes.
when we are saying we have to be detached from our result, not goals, but isn't goals and results the same thing at the end of the day? Because when you're working for a certain goal, it's the outcome of what we're expecting it to happen.
Yeah, see, the thing is, the goal is set at the beginning. When we start off, before we start off our activity, we have set the goal. The results is something that we get when we are working towards it. It's something that we get when we are working towards it.
To give you an example, just in case, like supposing a student is studying, he's obviously studying to complete his course or get his degree or whatever. So that is his goal. So isn't it the same as result or goal?
Yeah,
or he's
he's
expecting
working.
results.
Yeah, see, the goal was set by him before he started his studies. Let's say his academic year has begun, okay?
Okay.
And his goal is to get the degree. So this goal he has set at the beginning of the year. And throughout the year, he is working to fulfill that goal. Now, after he has given the exams, when the results come, that he should not be attached to. The result may meet the goal if he gets a degree, but there is also the situation that the result may not meet the goal. Here the result can vary, but the goal remains the same. If the result meets the goal, then it's the same thing. But if it does not meet the goal, then it's different. So one can set the goal at the beginning of the endeavor, but the result is got at the end of the endeavor. Or you may get some side benefits when you're working towards the goal. But we should not be attached to the result. Because let's say the child does not get the degree, then he's going to get dejected. And if he was very attached to the fact that I want my degree, I want my degree, I want my, if he was attached to the result and the result doesn't come, then the dejection of not having done it despite my hard work is going to affect him psychologically more than the fact that he didn't get the degree. If he was not attached to the result, he said, okay, I didn't pass, doesn't matter, I will try again. That psychological effect is different on that student if he's going to be overly attached to the result of whether the hard work has given him the fruit or not. Okay. Let's read this.
Attachment to results will make us worried about things beyond our control and thus distract us from the thing in our control, the work at hand. Elation on getting results and dejection on not getting them will also distract us.
So this is a distraction. If we are overly happy when we have got the result, or we are very disappointed when we don't get the result, both of these things are going to distract us. So what is it that brings out the best in us? We set the goal and we are detached from the fruits. When this goes hand in hand, then that is what brings out the best in us.
योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्योः समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते.
Translation. Perform your duties equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga.
So here Krishna is talking about two kinds of distractions. Attachment to success or attachment to failure. So when there is pain, we are getting agitated. And when there is pleasure, we are getting distracted. So in both cases, both are distractions because both are going to keep us in the material world. Both are temporary. So both are distractions for us. So Krishna is saying that you don't be attached neither to success nor to failure. Don't think about neither the pain nor the pleasure. Just keep calm and focus.
दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाः फलहेतवः.
Translation. O Dhananjaya, keep all obtainable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrendered unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers.
So durena, dur, we have to keep it far. What we have to keep far? Avaram karma. That karma which is abominable, that which we are not supposed to do, that which is sinful. So Krishna is saying, keep all these abominable activities far away from you and engage in buddhi yoga. Use your intelligence. And then what does he say? Those who enjoy the fruits of the work are misers. Kripana. The word Krishna uses here is kripana. Well, who's a miser? A miser is someone, he may have a lot of money, he has a lot of opulence, but he does not know how to use his assets in his favor to enjoy. He's miser. He's only collecting, right? Kanjus, we say, no? So he's a miser. So one who has the human body, and the human body can be used to get such great benefits, but we are not using the human body for such benefits, and we are not using it to the full capacity, then we are also kripanas, we are also misers. But we should not become misers. We should use our human body to get the greatest benefit. spiritual, transcendental joy.
बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृतदुष्कृते तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Translation. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reaction, even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work.
So Krishna is saying devotional service, a man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions. So if we do good karma, we go to the heavenly planets, we go to Swarga. We do bad karma, we go to the hellish planets. We have seen the 14 planetary system. But devotional service is beyond both good and bad karma. So we have to remember that there is a difference between good karma and devotional service. Sometimes people say, but my karmas are good, so I'm fine. No, it's not enough to only do good karma. We have to do devotional service. That is important. Good karma, yes, it will take us at best to heavenly planets, but then we have to come back again. We have to come back again. But when we do devotional service, go beyond the material realm, then from there, the spiritual realm is one place from where we don't have to come back again. Krishna promises that in the Gita, that once you attain me, once you attain the spiritual realm, you don't have to go back again. So spiritual world is that place from which we don't come back again. Okay. So it's not enough just to be good karma. It's not enough to just be a vegetarian. Okay. We have to eat prasad. See, that's the difference between good karma and devotional service. Being a vegetarian may be good karma. We are not killing animals. But if we offer the food, then that good karma is now devotional service, because now we are eating prasad. There is a difference between good karma and devotional service. Many people mistake, okay, good karma, then I'm good, that's fine. No, that's not enough. That will still keep us only in the material world.
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्.
Translation. Thus, by enjoying in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead.
So see, this is the first time where Krishna is mentioning a destination higher than Swarga. I repeat, for the first time, Krishna is mentioning a destination higher than Swarga. What is he saying here? By engaging in devotional service, karma jam buddhi yoga yukta, when you dovetail karma, when one works with intelligence, dovetailing karma means you dovetail your work so that it becomes a Krishna conscious activity. Same example, we cook, we eat vegetarian food. Forget vegetarian food. Let's say we eat only sattvic food. But even if that sattvic food or vegetarian or vegan food is not prasad, then we have not dovetailed our activity to become a Krishna conscious activity. Another example, even having children. Everybody has children, even we have children. But we can even make the activity of having children a Krishna conscious activity by bringing up our children in Krishna consciousness. When we make sure that our child does not take birth again, or at least is doing everything so that is required for one to not take birth again, then we are dovetailing even the activity of producing children. So we have to dovetail our activity with intelligence. And then what does such a person do? He gives up attachment to fruits. Such a great sage or devotee, or one who has conquered mind, is called as Mani Shinaha. He has conquered his mind. These are great sages or devotees who have conquered their mind and they engage in Buddhi Yoga. And what is the result of that? Then he says that they reach the spiritual realm. They reach the world, the realm where there is no misery. Anamayam. a place where there is no Maya. Anamayam, there is no Maya over there. So wherever there is Maya, there is misery, there is anxiety. So he reaches a place where there is no Maya, or a place where there is no misery and no anxiety. Let us read this reference from the Bhagavatam.
Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.58 Samasritit ye pada alava plavam mahat padam punyo yasho murahe bhava buddhir vatsya padam param padam 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 yad vidapam na tesam. Translation: For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Their goal is Param Padam, Vaikuntha, the place where there is no material miseries, not the place where there is a danger at every step.
So we say, no, we have to cross over the ocean of material existence. Now, to cross an ocean, even for an expert swimmer, is quite a task. It's not easy to swim across an ocean, isn't it? But what Krishna says here, for those who have surrendered, who have taken the shelter of the Lord, then for him, that ocean, that the water in that the vast ocean is reduced to the size of the water that is contained in the hoof print of a calf. Now, a calf, what his hoof print or his footprint is so small, isn't it? And how much water can you hold? Can that hoof print hold? Very little water. And isn't it very easy to cross over that little bit of water? Even a small child can do it. So one who takes the shelter of the Lord, that vast ocean water reduces to the water that is held in the hoof print of a calf. That's how easy it becomes. 52.
यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदं श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च.
Translation. When your intelligence has passed out to the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard.
Okay, so what Krishna is saying here, yes, there are, see, when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, when you have, so as I said, that there is a progression in the Vedas. Initial part of the Vedas all deal with sense gratification, bhoga and aishwarya, how we can gratify our lust and our greed. But at the end of it, it talks about the higher reality, about moksha or realizing God. So when you have passed through all this dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. So he's telling Arjuna that don't get carried away. Again, the flowery words of the Vedas, remember? So he's telling Arjuna, don't get carried away by that initial section of the Vedas, because the Vedas are teaching you. The Vedas tell you, no, if you want a beautiful wife, you have to worship. Whom do you worship if you want a beautiful wife? Harman, do you know?
No,
Okay.
I don't remember.
Okay. If you want a beautiful wife, then you worship Goddess Parvati. If you want a good-looking husband, then you worship Lord Shiva. So like this, there are how to gratify our senses. This information is given in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. But Krishna is saying, Arjuna is here, is you should become indifferent to all that. Go beyond that and use your intelligence, use your buddhi. Don't get carried away by this false advertisement. So let's say somebody watches television and there are a lot of ads that come up, no? And they're telling you, oh, you should buy this latest model of the cell phone. You should buy this hair product. This is good for you. So we should not get carried away by these false advertising by thinking that, yes, this cell phone or this beauty product is going to give me happiness. It's not going to give us happiness. We may be temporarily happy for some time, but again, it's back to square one, isn't it? So don't get carried away by the false advertising in the Vedas and see beyond. This is our last verse for the day.
श्रुतिभिः प्रतिपन्नाते यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला समाधावचला बुद्धिः तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि.
Translation. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness.
So here Krishna is concluding this section by this verse, and he says that when your mind is anchored, when it is fixed up, then you can realize God, either Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan realization, whatever realization, but you can be self-realized when you are fixed up. So if there is a boat in the water and there is a lot of turbulence, the boat is also, there is every danger that the boat is going to be go deep into the waters. But if the boat is anchored, firmly anchored, then no matter how much turbulence is there in the water, the boat is not going to go far away from the shore, isn't it? So if we anchor our minds using our intelligence, then we can realize God, then we can attain the divine consciousness. So with this, we end this section. We'll do section 5 in the next class. And we have a few corrections to make from the previous class. After our last class, Radhika Kasturi Mataji and are you there? Is she there?
Yes, Mataji, I'm here. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, okay. So we exchanged a lot of messages and she sent me a lot of references and all that stuff. So there is one small correction that we have to make, which is that the body of Lord Brahma is not made of, what is it that we said last time?
We said ether.
Ether. So the body of Brahma is not made of ether. The body of Brahma is made of intelligence and false ego. This information also Radhika Kasturi Mataji only gave me. And she has received, and she shared an audio of another senior devotee who has said this. And yeah, so she explained that how as the living entities go higher in the planetary system, the body becomes more and more subtle, and the body of Lord Brahma is the subtlest. So ether is still gross element, right? Gross elements are what? Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So ether is still a gross element. Not possible that Brahma, having the subtlest body, his body is made of ether. So his body is made of intelligence and false ego. Everything else is fine. Okay, just a small correction. I wanted to clarify. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So what else do we have to discuss?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam. Please don't say you are given us so much information like Jaipataka Maharaj. Jaipataka Maharaj is given a class. No. Mataji, please. Anant Koti Danvat Pranam to your Seva. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Shri Radha Gopinath Kiji. Thank you very much for your association, Mataji.
No, thank you for joining. We have to learn from you, Mataji. Even after so many years of Krishna consciousness, still you attend a class. Really,
Big zero. Big zero, Mataji.
No. Thank you. I learn a lot from you, Mataji.
No, Mataji, we all are learner Vaishnava. No one is senior and junior, Mataji. I have to learn more from you. Like Mataji, maybe you don't know, but there is actually there is a Radheshyam Prabhu. He is taking care of Pune temple. He's such a big brahmachari, such a sincere brahmachari, not big brahmachari, in a bhakti, more than 26 years. His bhakti, but he has so many sevas, so he's not able to read Sisi Bhagavatam, and so he already read but not able to give a class, so that he will sit in a last bench because the speaker is a very young and very junior from Radheshyam Prabhu, H.G. Radheshyam Prabhu. They all are brahmachari in ISKCON Shri Radha Gopinath temple. So he make a notes nicely, then he make a fair note, then he make a slideshow like you are making. I don't know about anything, Mataji. And then he started to give a class. Not 1-2 day, Mataji. H.G. Radheshyam Prabhu sit 2.5 years to learn properly Shri Bhagavatam, then 1.5 year for Shri Chaitanya Charanamrut, and he is a famous in all over the world, Mataji. That much sincere brahmachari. But Mataji, he is learning like a student with all other brahmachari. So wow. Thank you, Mataji. Hari Hari
Thank you.
Gauranga.
We have to learn humility from
Yes, Mataji.
senior devotees like you and from him. Thank you
No,
so
no,
much.
no, not like you and me. Mataji, this 40 years Gujarati family is cooking and taking care of family, but not getting proper making notes and sincerely studying Sisi Bhagavatam, Sisi Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada Amrita. It's studying going on from last 2.5 years only. Be honest, Mataji.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you for association. Hare Krishna. Okay, so Komal has asked a question in the chat. This song, what we play in the PPT is the voice of Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and it's actually you can Google YouTube for Guru Ashtakam. There are other singers who have sung this, but this particular one is only the first paragraph. So if you want the same one, only first paragraph, then you Google Abhay Charan. It's a series, it's a TV series based on the life of Srila Prabhupada. It's his biography that was produced by Bhakti Charu Maharaj. So if you want the same one, it's only one paragraph. You Google Abhay Charan and it's the title song. But if you want the whole song, then you Google Guru Ashtakam and you have other singers who sing all the 8 stanzas. Okay. What else do we have to discuss?
Can you please explain one story, whatever you like, small story to all of us regarding today's class?
Story from today's class?
Yeah, anything you want to, a moral story from Sisi Bhagavatam, Sisi Bhagavad Gita.
Story from Bhagavatam. What can I say? I don't know.
Anything from Sisi Bhagavad Gita, whatever you like to share with us. Like that was very inspiring for all of us.
Okay. Lalitangi Radha Mataji, do you want to take that?
Hare Krishna Mataji, such a beautiful class and very wonderful explanations and taking so much effort to give us everything.
It's all
so
due
much
to your
slides.
mercy. It's all due to your mercy. I want to tell everybody
that
I want to introduce Lalitangi Radha Mataji in this group. She was the one. She is the one responsible for me coming to Krishna consciousness. When she was in Santiago, she was doing Bhakti Vriksha in Santiago. And she would literally beg me because every time she would invite me for her Bhakti Vriksha program, I used to tell her, no, I don't want to come. I don't want to come. And she would say, please. She would tell me a million times, please come, please come, please come. Literally begging. Okay. So much humility. And because of her, I went for her Bhakti Vriksha. I am eternally grateful to her. Only because of her today, I am in Krishna consciousness. So I'm eternally grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, Krishna. I mean, what I've done is very less. I mean, we call everyone for Bhakti Vriksha, but then what you are doing after that is amazing. I mean, nobody to help you do English class in Chile, but still you kept researching and studying on your own and taking help from Nirantar Prabhu. And now what you're giving is really first class. So all credits to you. And of course, I am grateful that Krishna puts me in touch with some great devotees like you always.
Oh, great.
So that's my
you have the eternal seva of making devotees. So anyway, Vrinda Mataji wants to hear any katha. Can you take up? Can you give us some knowledge on any story, please?
Oh,
Mataji,
what katha Vrinda Mataji doesn't know.
one sentence. H.G. Lalitangi Gopi is Chalti Firti Library, Mataji. Yes, we get association.
Yes. Mataji, yeah, we all learn from you. So I think today's is more about karma. Karma is such a complicated thing, like how he's saying that. I like the way how you explain the verse that you do your duty, don't expect your results, but because you cannot expect the results, don't fall into lethargy and not give up the thing of doing your duty. That is so wonderful. I remember this story. I don't know, maybe many would have heard this. There was one devotee of Chitragupta. Even now we see that many people are, I have a friend who's descendant from Chitragupta. They say that descendant from that. So there was one devotee of Chitragupta, and so what happened, he invited somebody for lunch, and when he's cooking, he found that a small worm or something fell into that. But he thought that, he noticed that, but still he went ahead and served it because he thought there is no time and why cook again or something like that. So, but then he got noted down in his account that this is a sin for this, that he has done this which he's not supposed to do, to serve when he's serving a guest. So Chitragupta, since he's the one who's keeping account, so he was thinking that I have to somehow save my devotee. So he came and told this, that since you did this, you have a great, you need to go to hell to suffer that. But I can tell you one way to get out of this, to give this to others. So what he said was, you start walking with putting your hand on your grown-up daughter from the end of your street, from the beginning of your street till your house. So you start doing that. So when he started that, naturally people commented that, what is this? It's so shameless. He's putting his hand on his grown-up daughter and going. And whoever said that, they got the karma divided among them. The bad karma of him went to them. So this was, I heard it in quite a few lectures, but I'm not exactly sure where is the source. But the point here is how one gets a karma and how it gets deflected to others. It is not an easy science. It's very complicated, as Krishna says himself. And also what we learn is, even if we see something faulty in some other behavior, we don't know what's the reason behind it. So we might as well be cautious than get into the bad karma of somebody else. I don't know if this is an appropriate story, but I was just remembering this. If anyone wants to add or correct, please go ahead.
Jai. Thank you
Hari
so
bol,
much.
actually, Lalitangi Gopi, Danvat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai.
Thank you for your nectar, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji, for your amazing class. It's so nectarian, verse by verse, and wonderful to hear. And I pray to the Lord that you continue like this more and more, and bring the nectar of Bhagavad Gita to more souls.
With your blessings.
Be honest, Mataji. Be honest from bottom of the heart. It's feel that in Shri Radha Gopinath Senior Brahmachari is taking class and they are working from 2-3 weeks like that. You also working maybe 2-3 weeks, making slideshow and adding the small video and adding the story also. It is touch to heart, Mataji. Hari Hari Gauranga. H.G. Sanam Mataji ki jai, Danvat Pranam.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji. It was really a wonderful class. Really amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So hopefully we will meet next week. Thank you all very much. See you next week.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Mataji, one more request, please take our exam so that we become more sincere and study that lecture 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Like whenever I'm going to sleep with my daughter also, my Prabhu also hearing that class, they said we don't understand, but we like and we will sleep peacefully. That is also working.
Yeah. When we finish chapter 2, we will have our next exam, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.